Welcome, Magpies, to my presentation on Nearpod. Last spring, when we went to online learning, my students stopped talking while we were in class. Kids were turning in work, but when we met synchronously as a class, they were silent. I tried chat rooms and found that they were silent even in a chat room. I needed to hear their voice and know that they were interacting with our synchronous learning. I had remembered using Nearpod in the classroom and wasn't sure if it would work with Zoom, and I was really happy to find out that it did. As you present a Nearpod lesson, students have the presentation on their screen, and they interact with the presentation by drawing, answering questions, reading, and taking short quizzes. Their answers allow you to gauge their learning. I'm going to share the screen and show you the Nearpod that I used and all of the information that you can get from their interactions. So, Nearpod is an online tool that you have to create an account for. It has a library of slideshows that you can select from in every subject and in all grade levels. You can even select the resource type that you would like. Or you can convert your own PowerPoints and Google slideshows into a Nearpod presentation. They can be asynchronous using student paced or synchronous using live participation. If student pace is selected, students have control of their screen and can move the slides, and they move through at their own pace. If live participation is selected, you control the slideshow and the students are in sync with you. The Nearpod I'd like to show you is one that was created by CK through 12. My students use CK through 12, which is an online free text. So they were familiar with the verbs, the terms, the nouns, the presentation, the look. First thing that you have to have your students do is log in to nearpod.com. And when they do log in, it will look something like this. They have to join a session with a code. The code is generated when you begin the presentation. So this is the code that students would go back and enter into this box. I'm going to skip this part. My recommendation is that you remind them that they need to use their real name. Otherwise, you won't know who's there. Once they're in, a roster is generated, so you will know who's participating. Make sure that you show their names, otherwise you won't know who's answering what. The code stays at the top of the slideshow as you're in the slideshow. This is there, of course, in case a kid accidentally logs out. Other students can tell them what the code is and they can get back in. So begin your slideshow. The slideshow has all sorts of information for the kids and ways for them to interact. They can draw, they can read, they can answer questions. Read some more, answer more questions. So most of what we covered in this particular lesson was about angiosperms, which are flowering plants. We had been learning about vascular plants and classification. So we were learning about angiosperms and we were learning the parts of the flower, and students participated and it was great. And you can add activities if you want to. They respond to your questions, and then when you're finished, the beauty, I'm going to go back to the very beginning. The beauty is that you can generate a report of how the students have participated. So I presented this presentation 3 times. I had 3 different classes at that day. Different numbers of students signed up. And I only showed about half of the presentation on that particular day because these presentations do take time. So I get a report at the very end that shows how the students participated and how they answered. So if I look at each of the quiz questions, there were, I think in the portion that I showed them, there may have been only 1 quiz. This is how the students responded. If I looked at the open-ended questions, I can see how the students responded to those open-ended questions. And of course, my favorite is how the students did their drawings, and I have a saved copy of all of the drawings that they did, showing how pollen will travel from one plant to another. The students enjoyed this. I enjoyed it, and I hope to use it again next year in the classroom, as well as if we do go online again. Thanks so much. I hope this was helpful.